Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. How are you? Please hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you have yet to do so already, and share if this content is resonating in your heart space. If you get anything from my work, a connect the dot, an epiphany, a mind-blown moment, a new book to read, a new author to explore, artwork to look at, oracle card readings. I do a lot of things. Please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description. I got new goodies coming out of the molds. I got these frames, so you put a picture in this middle heart here, or you can Cricut your initials, whatever. I don't have a Cricut, but you could do that too. I'm making a whole bunch of designs and stuff. I know people don't participate so much in the Valentine's Day, but if you want something for a birthday or a special occasion, my website is LAW&ORDER.com. You could check that out. That'd be appreciated. And if you're interested in anything, customization, I do work with people financially. And I'm really pricing at cost. I'm not really pricing on my labor or any, it's just what I'm putting into the pieces. So check me out. I appreciate it, guys. It is, what is it today? 2 degrees, 12 degrees, minus 12 degrees, real feel. Before I begin, I had a rough day. The other day I did please go check that out, Spiritual Soul Advice, which was half of a tea and chat and an oracle card reading. It was a lot in one. Because of the wind chill, but actually because of the wind pushing and pressing against my house, like it is freezing down here. And I have my heat up to 73. And it's so cold, like I have to put a space heater by my epoxy, and I just had to order a new one. I'm not happy about that, but it was on sale. It's cold. I'm wrapped up. I have a blankie too on my legs, and I'm like double layered on everything. So yeah, when I bought this house, they were doing work on it. I would hope that they sealed off some drafty areas. I need new back doors. You can get to my backyard through I have doors back there. It is freezing. I had to layer it with a moving blanket and a towel so that the draft kind of stays back. I didn't have this problem last winter. And it was really cold last winter here. I don't know. But my kitchen sink, after some advice, got a space. I have a tiny space heater I used to use in my sculpture studio. In college, I kept it. It's now sitting under my sink, heating up the pipes that were just about to freeze and burst. So. Progressing forward and having a good attitude about it. Today, I'm going to read the message of Aquaria, Chapter 15, Orderly Sequence. I do recommend those who are just joining and subscribing to my channel. Hi. A lot of these books goes in chapters, and I do just a chapter. You can listen to just a chapter if it piques your interest. I do recommend going and hearing me or purchasing the book for yourself and reading it, especially the Curtis books. There's a free off their website PDF format of all the books that I have read thus far and will be reading in the future. So go please check them out. They're my top 5 authors, top 5 that I've read. And I've read, obviously you can see behind me, I have a plethora of books. They're my top 5 for sure. Still a little under the weather. I didn't make tea tonight. I have my water. So at least the water I make is good. So orderly sequence. Quote, for God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. Let all things be done decently and in order. End quote. 1 Corinthians. I'll make my comment after I read the next one. Quote, there is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory. End quote. 1 Corinthians. So in my spiritual soul advice, I spoke about peace. And a lot of what these authors in a lot of their books, but more so in what I read yesterday, like a meme, we got to stop feeding the negativity and the negative side. And a lot of their work is about preaching peace and praying for it and trying to manifest peace. And they're going over this time now, and they wrote this book a long time ago. So let's heed their call to action and apply it to where you see it in your life. And let's start creating peace. We keep feeding this side, they're going to continue to exist, and they're going to continue to bleed into our paradigm. We need to go over there, they need to go over there, and we need to start our new world. So let's make that conscious effort for all of us. Back to the book. Law and order rule the universe. This globe and all that is upon and within it. Again, we'll give them grace for that statement. As well as the cosmos of which it is part, has been manifested as a result of definitive law. The planets move around the sun in orderly procession, each in its own orbit, each drawing its life force from the central sun, yet utilizing that force to unfold its particular possibilities according to the law of its being. On Earth, every plant, tree, animal, or other form of life draws its life force from the sun, yet manifests its according to the law of its individual expression, each being a necessary part of the whole. There is but the one life, manifesting according to the one law, yet there are infinite varieties of expression. That's us. If individual man would unfold his life as successfully and harmoniously as he sees life unfolded in the cosmos and in nature around him, he too must follow the same law and walk the same path too. Must draw to himself the one life and build it into his individual life expression according to definite law and order. But this must be of his own volition. For to man alone of all creation was given free will. Certain references have been made in these teachings to a great work to be accomplished for humanity and to the opportunity each one has of partaking in the great work. But ere this opportunity can be grasped and is promised, fulfilled, each one who desires to participate must have a certain understanding of the law, he is prepared to take his place in the activities which are now at hand. Each one who is earnest in his endeavors, unselfish in his desires, and is a faithful follower of the teachings, and we trust that these include all, each is striving to accomplish the great work in his own body, in his life, and in his environment. If this great work is to be accomplished intelligently, either individually or collectively, it is necessary to call attention to one very important and definite law, the law of orderly sequence. Order is said to be heaven's first law, and it is equally important in the unfoldment of those who seek to make heaven manifest here on earth. In their consciousness, in their lives, and in their environment. Even the modern business world recognizes this law and bases all the new methods of efficiency upon it. The man or woman who builds his or her life upon law and order lays the foundation for success, not alone in the material life, but in the higher life as well. There is a distinction, however, between plain order and routine. Plan has to do with the whole scheme of life and includes a more or less clear outline of the end to be obtained and the methods by which it is to be achieved. Those who have no plan in life, no objective to be obtained, no goal toward which all their activities are working, are merely drifting, subject to every breeze that blows and driven hither and thither by every current of force that may impinge upon them. How can such persons expect to obtain any definite accomplishment? To be efficient in life's day at school, a philosophy should be sought which is so all-inclusive that it explains where we came from, why are we here, what the destiny is to which we are expected to reach, and what our individual place in the whole mighty scheme of the universe, or how we are to attain it. Sounds like what a lot of us are trying to venture into now. Order has to do with the harmonious relations between things, ideas, actions, the old adage, quote, a place for everything and everything in its place, end quote, has an occult basis. For such an arrangement between physical things not only tends toward orderly arrangement of ideas in the mental world, but it also arranges orderly and non-interfering lines of force in the astral and psychic realms. The orderly arrangement of a desk, a room, or a home, for example, is constructive and helps to create a calm, peaceful, and poised atmosphere or aura, while a disorderly room, household, or office is destructive, for it tends to create confusion and cross lines of force, hence tends toward irritation, inharmony, and disintegration. This idea, however, should not be carried to such extremes as to elude all else. For instance, in the olden days, the parlor or best room in the house was kept closed and the family excluded from its everyday use, lest its orderly arrangement should be in the least disturbed. In fact, many persons are even today so restricted in their own homes by the housekeeper's exaggeration of order that the home is made unattractive by it. A reasonable instance upon order, however, is a more important factor in the mystical and spiritual life than is generally known or appreciated. Routine has to do with the orderly carrying out of a sequence of events necessary to the working out of a plan. The plan should include a certain time set aside for study, for recreation, and for meditation and spiritual realization, as well as for the activities of the material life. And this routine, once carefully laid out, should be followed religiously, but with such reasonable latitude that the routine does not become the master instead of the servant, that the follower does not become pendic, intolerant, or fanatical, instead of becoming a well-balanced, poised, and adaptable soul. But he who seeks to obtain the highest by following one impulse today and another tomorrow, unbalanced by discretion and wisdom, who does one thing today because it appeals to his mood and neglects all other parts of the plan and all other duties, cannot expect to advance in a well-balanced manner. He who, because he is sensitive and psychic, becomes erratic, who dips first into one teaching and then into another in a superficial way, may have a speaking acquaintance with many words of many syllables, yet he lacks that plan, that order, that routine, persistence, which is essential to mastery, whether in the things of the world or the things of the spirit. He who begins the day with the realization that many things should have prompt attention and then allows himself to be diverted from orderly sequence of his duties by becoming so engrossed in the task of the movement that he forgets all others or pushes them back to some more convenient tomorrow cannot succeed, for tomorrow never comes. When it comes, it is today, with its own demands, its own activities, and there is no time in which to go back and pick up wasted moments or perform forgotten tasks. Picture for a moment a cosmos built in such a way. Suppose God said, "Let there be light," and then he'd forgotten what he had decreed. Suppose that as the light penetrated into the darkness of chaos, he overlooked the details of the plans he had started into manifestation. Suppose he had said, "Today we will make a great light and a lesser light, and tomorrow we will create man in our image." That's funny. And then had forgotten man. Oh, that's funny. Or suppose man had been fashioned before the earth was ready to receive him. Think you the work of creation would have been accomplished in 6 days? Yet those who are striving to obtain the higher life are apt to despise the exactitude of business methods and look down upon those who methodically perform each allotted task as it is presented in the routine of the plan and according to the definite rules. The self-discipline of a definite plan developed in a certain order and according to a general routine makes for a well-balanced and harmonious progress in the spiritual life as in the physical. Yet man must be the master and dictator of his own life, never a slave to his self-appointed and needful rules. For over all these rules is a higher law whose mandates must be observed, the guidance of his real self. His daily life should be arranged in such an orderly fashion that he can easily set it aside temporarily at the call of the real self without upsetting it. This he could not do if his life was in confusion. To listen to the voice of intuition and to be ever responsive to inspiration to essential to spiritual progress, even if in temporary interruptions and interrupts to the routine. But there is much to be accomplished between the periods of inspiration if the new ideas thus received are to be worked out and made to manifest effectively in the life. Inspiration will be more dependable if there be a regular time set apart for its recognition and reception. By following this method, the inspiration becomes so frequent as ultimately to be a continuous conscious guidance in all things, both great and small. Many think they have nothing to do while waiting for their inspiration, that they can work only when they are given a special outpouring of power. And because of this attitude of mind, many a soul who has been chosen as an important instrument in a great work has ended his day in inaction, failure, and disappointment. Instead of beginning humbly and proceeding methodically according to some plan of accomplishment, he has waited year after year for some great manifestation of divine glory and power that would miraculously accomplish the work his inspiration had revealed to him, that would fill him and make the world recognize him in his greatness. Yet all the time he neglected to take the routine steps necessary, the plan could be materialized in earth conditions. Such are not the practical mystics these teachings hope to develop. They are merely dreamers and visionaries, those who help to bring mysticism and the ideals of the higher life into disrupt as impractical and inefficient simply because they fail to take the practical steps necessary to correlate the ideal with its realization. Stunning. Many hear the divine call within. Quote, "Come ye out and be ye separate. Take my yoke upon you. Feed my lambs," end quote. And they answer, "Yeah, Lord, here am I." And in the day they go forth, so full of ardor and enthusiasm that they feel impelled to proclaim to everyone their wonderful experience and the fact that they have been chosen as an instrument in the hands of the great law. But they find the hungry lambs indifferent to food that is merely promised. They find the world not ready to bow down before them and acknowledge them to be the great leader or teacher they were told they might become. Thus, they spend their day of enthusiasm and use up the power given them for accomplishment, not in methodically making a practical beginning, but in disputating and wasting it in telling the world that they are going to do or be at some future time. Then when their evening comes, they are in despair and loudly lament the ignorance and stupidity of mankind, or bemoan the unbrotherliness of other teachers who fail to recognize them as chosen disciple who has been sent forth with a badge of honor upon his breast. Or perhaps they weep bitterly over the cruelty of the world, which demands deeds rather than words, results instead of promises. They desire to sow and immediately reap without the trouble and routine work of preparing the soil, cultivating, weeding, and tending to the growing crop. Pause. Yes. In order to manifest in the material world, you have to put action into motion. The process is slow. Each and every day, when I get upstairs, or I have a routine, I have a schedule, I keep on task. I give myself time to reflect and have meditation. I give myself time to read. I give myself time to eat and to play with the kitties and to have I give myself breaks during my day. Obviously, I am not working like a full-time job yet to have a rigorous schedule, but in this time that I have, I am making and creating. I am posting and putting things out to the world. I am making sure that each day I'm putting and sowing this energy into existence. Some people get told these or get a sign or get an epiphany and just sit on it. And they're not expending themselves to do the research, the work, doing the inner work. They expect everybody to do it for them. I know a lot of people in this situation. Everything happens in divine timing, but you got to work preparing the soil, cultivating, weeding, and tending to the growing crops. Things just don't happen overnight. I've been working on this channel for 2 years, and I'm not even over 1,000 subscribers just yet. It's not there. That's okay. I'm working towards that goal. It doesn't stop me from making videos. Life sometimes gets in the way, but I strive each day to get something out or put something out. I'm making my best efforts. The same with my artwork, even though a lot of that stuff isn't probably going to sell, and I'm going to hope that it does. I still make it because I enjoy it and I love it until I can't afford to do it anymore. But for now, I'm happy. You got to keep yourself in a rhythm, in a plan, give yourself goals so you can obtain them and do things slowly. Don't jump in with the sharks. They're going to eat you. Sorry, guys. A similar temptation is experienced by every neophyte, whether chosen for a great work or not. For the first great work for every soul is to learn to work in harmony with the law. Until this is learned, no greater work can be entrusted to it. Similar failure can be avoided only by having plan, order, and routine for the inspiration to illume, expand, and accomplish through. There is no royal road to knowledge, nor to spiritual obtainment. It requires the same painstaking preparation and training of the body and mind as any other important work in life. The Bible tells us that the 6 days of creation were each divided into 2 periods, morning and evening, and only on the 4th day were the sun and moon created, the greater to rule the day and the lesser to rule the night. What does this allegory signify in the life of the neophyte? It means that he will pass through 3 periods of morning, evening, corresponding to the first 3 days of creation and to the 3 days in the tomb before his sun and moon are created, during which he must methodically gather flesh, the promised manna on which to feed, periods during which he will experience the glory of the morning, when all is bright and smiling, when he hears the voice saying, "See the blessings in store for humanity. Come, take, eat, and give unto the hungry." And he is all enthusiasm. Then will come the evenings, when he finds the world indifferent, tired, or asleep, when his enthusiasm has evaporated, his powers seem exhausted, and his comrades turn their backs upon and slight him. During these 3 days, he works almost blindly, for his sun and moon are not yet created, and he cannot see what definite work he is to do. Very true. But if through these 3 periods of vagueness and semi-light, he has followed his guidance faithfully and has gathered his manna fresh from heaven each morning and evening, no matter how dark and cold or how weary he might be, and has performed each little task methodically as it was presented, without wasting time in dreaming about the great obtainment pictured in his vision, he will have built for himself a firm foundation, which, like all foundations, must be laid stone on stone, deep down in the darkness of earth conditions, below the surface, where it does not receive the recognition or applause of men. But on the 4th day, 2 lights will be created, the spiritual sun to rule his days, and the same sun reflected in him through the intuition to rule his nights. This means that when his mornings of enthusiasm come, he will find that the great light, the sun of his soul, has arisen to illumine his consciousness and enable him to see clearly the plan of his work. It was also revealed to the world the foundation he has already laid. From these periods of illumination, there will be reflected through his intuition the comfort, assurance, and strength necessary to carry him safely through the night until he is ready to rest in the midst of his works on the 7th day and pronounce them good. It will also reveal the fact that the night is the time to rest, gather the forces of the earth, and assimilate the experience of the day, that he may be prepared for the activities in the new day, resting meanwhile in trust and confidence in the workings of the great law, until finally he re-enters his Eden and there meets the Lord God, law of his good, walking in the cool of the day, the entire law making its home in his spiritualized body, the Garden of Eden. During its early days, the order has quietly laid its foundation in the darkness and obscurity of Earth's conditions. Then its 2 lights were created and set in its heaven, the greater to rule its days, the positive knowledge that the life stream of Christ, the Son of Righteousness, fills all its worlds with light, life, and power, which shall germinate all the seeds sown in the twilight of the earlier periods, the lesser to rule its nights, the periods of human discouragement, with the intuitive knowledge that the Son of Righteousness still shines, even though only its reflected light can be seen. Therefore, during the night periods, the order is able to rest in the assurance that the words of the old familiar hymn, "Son of my soul, my Savior dear, it is not night if thou be near," are mystically true, for the Son of God is also the Son of the order, just as it is the Son of each individual soul. Hence, it must rise again in the glory, power, and fullness of a new day of greater opportunity after every night, period. As each new day dawns for the order, it must be fruitful and bring forth abundantly. Each new day will be almost like a new incarnation. And as in the reincarnation of a soul, there must be the karmic fulfillment to each student individually, as well as to the order as a whole, of exactly that which each has sown in the past, both for himself and for the order. Therefore, all who put the welfare and work of the order first, who make sacrifices for it and give it their faith, love, devotion, and service, will participate in its new developments and will find comfort, joy, inspiration in the activities of each new day. The law as karma and the law as growth is working in this day of the order, just as it does in the new earth life of an individual. In the earlier days, there was only the plan, later the astral pattern, and then the beginnings of a materialization comparable to a fetus. But today, as a result of the throes and travail of birth through which it has passed, the physical body has been born. It is not perfect or powerful as yet, for it is but the body of a babe, but it is rapidly growing in stature and in favor with God and man, and is capable of being developed into the giant which is ultimately must become. But as the body of the order is composed of many cells, individuals, to make it perfectly fitted to accomplish its real mission, each individual must begin with himself, outline his plan of life and his relation to the order, and then begin to work toward its fulfillment with order and system. In overcoming the tendencies toward disorder, inharmony, and lack of perseverance, each has free will either to yield to the destructive forces and be overcome by them, or to overcome them by utilizing the very power which makes them effective. That right there summarizes my last video. There is no great being who says that we shall or shall not. But if we wish to conquer, if we wish to draw close, if we wish to let the divine principle of the law and order work through and manifest perfection in us, then we must begin to correlate with the law, being with the outline of the end to be obtained. Then take up the things of the outer life, even those which seem to have no connection with spiritual obtainments and established order and system in our lives, remembering that to allow time for spiritual studies and for meditation is as important a duty as to allow time for meals, work, or recreation. The same system should be also applied to finances. As definite, a portion should be assigned and consecrated to the support and spread of the spiritual teachings as for any other expense. When Moses enjoined upon the children of Israel that they should dedicate a tenth of all they possessed to the support of their priests, he was but in calculating a deep occult principle which would react to their own prosperity, materiality, as well as spirituality, and become an important factor in making them a great nation. I differ on that. Let each soul who reads this book sincerely ask in the sanctuary of his own heart, in the presence of his real divine self, if the enlightenment of the world and the betterment of humanity can be more efficiently brought about through the cooperation of all who accept the principles these teachings set forth, rather than by many scattered units trying to work independently. And if the answer be in the affirmative, let him act accordingly. We must begin just as the light was manifested. When we say we will do a thing, we must do it. When we make a careful, considered plan, we must carry it out. When we make a promise, even to ourselves, we must keep it. When we begin a thing, we must finish it and be done with it. Just as business efficiency demands that the office desk be cleared before leaving it. Let each day be of a creation. But remember that we cannot create and bring things into manifestation unless we attain minutely to every duty as it is presented and fulfill it. The habit of putting off and forgetting is so disorderly, confusing, and inharmonious that instead of drawing to us the divine constructive forces of the law, we set up within ourselves and in our environment forces which produce storms of opposition, which make us feel impatient, irritable, and as though we would fly to pieces. Why? Because the great law we have invoked and promised to obey is trying to work in its orderly fashion and force us to attend to the necessary details in their regular order and rhythm. Humanity is a cosmos in the process of formation. Like the planets in the heavens, each individual has his own orbit, and this is commensurate with the work he is accomplished and the force he is to utilize. The forces within this orbit manifest as his natural tendencies, abilities, disposition, as each soul evolves along his own path around the spiritual sun. He finds that his orbit touches, parallels, or perhaps intersects the orbits of many others. In following the law of his being, he must consider the various aspects he makes with those he contacts. He must recognize that it is not intended that he force himself to sustain the same relations towards all, except those of the law and order. I spoke about that the other day. With some, he finds himself in the so-called malign aspects of opposition, square, semi-square, or sexquadrant, while with others, he is in the benign aspects of trine, sextile, and conjunction, or parallel. But the law of cosmic order decrees that while all draw their forces from the central sun and must work together in harmony, each must keep to his own orbit and follow his own plan, without allowing himself to be deviated from it, and without striving to deflect others from their orbits or force upon them his personal plan of life. So true. Humanity is a cosmos in the process of formation. Like the planets in the heavens, each individual has his own orbit, and this is commensurate with the work he is to accomplish, forces he is to utilize. And I'm rereading that for a purpose. We have to understand we are a sum of everything. We have our own orbit. We have our own lives and individual things that we are set to do, but we got to do it and understand it within the whole of humanity. We each have a puzzle piece and we bring it forward to make a bigger picture. Are we doing that? Are we focused on what we all need to do in order to move into a better position in this world? Are we going toward the light or are we going toward the darkness? This is really just saying very much what I said the other day, but using astrology terms, which is great. But I was pondering, I stopped and paused because I had a sneeze, another one. But I reread that. And it's like everything I said yesterday in my video, Spiritual Soul Advice. Go check it out. We need to understand the trials and tribulations we are going to have to go through, and we have gone through, and we're going to continue to go through. But it's where you seed and feed your energy in the garden that you are sowing. What are you growing? What are we doing? This last portion of that paragraph, but the law of cosmic order decrees that while all draw their forces from the central sun and must work together in harmony, each must keep his own orbit and follow his own plan, without allowing himself to be deviated from it. and without striving to deflect others from their orbits or force upon them his personal plan of life. So if we keep going and building momentum to push us, humanity, into the light, into the positive polarity, we really shouldn't be trying to knock other people off their paths. Again, there's a negative polarity that God's experienced itself through. And we are continuously still creating their reality. They can't create reality. We create it for them. I read that meme the other day. We are creating their reality. They're using our energy to do that. So we need to get on this strategy here. The Oracle card said we need new strategy to individually go with our own plan. Each and every one of us has our own mission here, whether it's to be a healer, a teacher, a constructor, someone in that making buildings or inventing new things. We all have something to bring to the table. If we keep focusing on us, healing us, going within, evolving, expanding consciously, we're contributing that frequency into the ether that is going to be picked up by others without deviating our plan. You're not feeding them that way because you have no time to be feeding them because you're busy working for the light. Remember that the law and order are the foundation of the universe, that this law must work out in little things as in great. The only he who is faithful in the little things is made ruler over the great. And if we are to be faithful and true and loving, we must begin to manifest these qualities in our hearts, in our lives, and in the performance of our duties, accomplishing each one. Be it ever so distasteful in the name of the Christ and for the sake of the Christ, then no duty will be too irksome, no task too sordid, no routine too exact, to be performed cheerfully for his sake. And I'm going to leave it there. The next chapter is the spiral of life. That should be very interesting. But definitely check out my spiritual soul advice about putting the positive into the reality that we need. If we if we go by their plan of law and order, our favorite person talks about this constantly. Do we really know what that actually is? And now that just described you in definition, what law and order means to them in perspective and their interpretation thereof, but it gives us a bigger picture of what law and order really means. Sorry, I'm still very stuffy. We got to get our own plans, but get away from this negative side. We have to stop feeding agendas. We have to stop being in fear. We have to emotionally detach feelings to, oh my God, 5G. Oh my God, this. And oh, that person is that person. Like, is it going to fulfill your plan to think about that stuff? I know a lot of people are retired and this is like a big hobby for them or something that occupies their minds. But even if you are retired, I'm talking to a lot of people here, and I love you, all of you. You lived your life, you did, and you deserve to be having a good time in life and having fun. Your mission is not over here by any stretch of the imagination. It is not here. You have so much wisdom to impart on this world. Why aren't you taking advantage of that? If you are in that age where you're home and you're occupying your time and space watching other people and taking in all the information, not really discerning it, not going to your own heart space and aligning with it, and spewing it, are you walking in your path or are you feeding them energy? And it doesn't need to, there's no age limit on this. A lot of people continuously do this. Let's go by their laws. Let's understand what that whole chapter meant, which is a lot, but I spoke a lot about it yesterday. It's just different wording. Let's try and strive to bring this shift that way to the light. And it could be anyway, wherever your light is. We got to let that dark negative energy not be fed anymore. And it's spirit sinks. They wanted me to read this tonight and not Manly P Hole. So I can't ignore them. I cannot ignore them. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys. Please stay warm. This is like my shawl wrap. Keep me warm. I got my blankie, my Halloween blankie. I only got it because there's black hats on it. And I also like owls. I'm not gonna lie. I like animals. And hopefully little Thor does come back tonight. I doubt it, but he has a bed and shelter outside that will keep him warm, I hope. Stick with the plan. But what's your plan? What is the Prime Creator's plan? Trust what plan? Trust your own. Go in your heart. Follow it. Feel it. Heal it. We're here. We got to move forward. And I hope more people join me on this. Sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protection energy. Please be safe and be seen. The weather is bonkers still. It is absolutely not necessary to go out unless you are working or you have errands to run. But even at that, please, I know this is a thing in the Midwest. I'm not used to it. Flip-flops, slides, hoodies, no jackets. Please dress for the weather. Be prepared. If you're in a car, things can break down. A lot of things in the winter break down a lot quicker than in the summer. So please be prepared and be safe. If you don't have to necessarily go out, don't go out. Take this time to do some self-reflection, read a book, do things on your routine, but make sure that you're giving yourself some time. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe if you have yet to do so. And again, check out my website, LAW&ORDER.com. I have a lot of stuff up there. So if you see anything, I am not charging $1,500 for anything. If you're interested in my work, please let me know and we can email. Until the next time, guys, have a great rest of your week.